The stars vanished first. At the Johnson Space Observatory in Nevada, technician Mark Wilson noticed the oddity during his night shift. The outer planets' moons were disappearing from view one by one, like someone was turning off distant light bulbs. He alerted his supervisor, who dismissed it as equipment failure. 3 hours later, every major space agency on Earth was in crisis mode. "It's not possible," Director Anna Hayes of NASA muttered as she stared at the screens showing the massive objects now blocking starlight around our solar system. The formations were perfect, too perfect to be natural. Thousands of identical vessels arranged in geometric patterns surrounding Earth from all sides. They had arrived silently, without warning. Within 12 hours, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence as satellite imagery revealed the true scale of the alien armada. The largest ships measured over 5 miles long, with strange crystalline structures jutting from their hulls like frozen lightning. "We need to respond," said General Thomas Reed, his weathered face grim under the harsh lights. "They haven't communicated yet, but this formation is clearly military in nature." President Williams nodded slowly. "All nuclear powers are on high alert, but we need a spokesperson, someone who can represent Earth, not just America." That's when Admiral James Blackwood's name came up, a veteran of 3 wars, respected diplomat, and current head of the International Space Coalition. At 62, his calm demeanor and strategic mind made him the obvious choice. "I'll do it," Blackwood said when they contacted him. "But I'll need a team. Scientists, linguists, military strategists." The call went out worldwide as humanity prepared for its first contact with an alien civilization. They didn't have to wait long. Exactly 24 hours after the fleet's arrival, every electronic device on Earth simultaneously broadcast the same message. "People of Earth, you now exist within territory claimed by the Galactic hegemony. Your world has been evaluated as resource-rich and strategically positioned. Emperor Draz offers you the opportunity to surrender peacefully and join the hegemony as a protectorate state. Resistance is not advised. You have 3 Earth days to respond." The message repeated in all major languages, accompanied by images of worlds burning, civilizations falling. Inside the hastily established First Contact Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Blackwood watched the message with his team. "They're showing us their conquests," said Dr. Leon Rivera, xenobiologist. "This isn't their first rodeo." "But why even offer terms?" asked Major Helen Fisher. "If they're that powerful, why not just take what they want?" Professor Robert Jensen, who specialized in ancient civilizations, leaned forward. "Throughout human history, empires have preferred cooperation over constant rebellion. It's more efficient." Blackwood nodded. "They want our resources and strategic position, not necessarily our destruction." He stood up, pacing the room. "We need more information. How many worlds have they conquered? What happens to those who surrender? And most importantly, what are their weaknesses?" The team worked around the clock, analyzing the alien message and vessels. Using the world's most powerful supercomputers, they estimated the hegemony had conquered thousands of worlds based on the imagery provided. On the second day, Admiral Blackwood addressed the United Nations General Assembly. "Make no mistake," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of humanity on his shoulders. "We face a power unlike anything we've encountered. But Earth will not surrender. We are preparing a response that gives us the best chance of survival." As he spoke, scientists around the world were making a startling discovery. The hegemony's technology, while advanced, followed predictable patterns. And Earth had been developing something unique, something the aliens might never have encountered before. Perhaps humanity had one card left to play. Day 3 arrived with an unsettling calm. The hegemony fleet remained motionless, a perfect cage of metal and energy surrounding Earth's solar system. Then they sent the scouts. Small, dart-shaped vessels broke formation and streaked toward Earth. They moved too fast for conventional tracking systems, appearing and disappearing from radar like digital ghosts. "They're scanning us," Dr. Emily Ford explained to Admiral Blackwood. Her laboratory at MIT had become the central hub for analyzing the alien technology. At 38, she was already legendary in the field of quantum physics, with 3 Nobel nominations to her name. "These aren't attack ships. They're gathering intelligence." Blackwood frowned at the holographic display, showing the scout ships' paths. "They're focusing on our military installations, nuclear plants, major cities. Taking our measure," General Reed added grimly, "like a boxer sizing up an opponent before the first punch." The scouts completed their survey in under 6 hours. No weapons were fired, no communications attempted. They simply observed, recorded, and returned to the main fleet. That evening, the hegemony sent their assessment directly to every government leader worldwide. Earth military capability. Class D3, primitive. Technological development, pre-singularity. Resource value, A1, excellent. Strategic position, optimal. Recommendation, standard acquisition protocol. The message ended with coordinates for Earth to send representatives for formal surrender terms. Inside the command bunker, Earth's Defense Council met in emergency session. "We can't win," General Reed admitted, showing simulations based on what they'd observed of the hegemony's technology. "Even if we launched everything we have, their shields would hold. And that's assuming they don't simply disable our weapons remotely. They've conquered thousands of worlds," added Dr. Rivera, "many likely more advanced than ours. We're dealing with experience and technology beyond our comprehension." Blackwood remained silent, studying the data. Finally, he looked up. "What about Project Prometheus?" The room went quiet. Dr. Ford's eyes widened. "That's experimental, James. We don't know if it would work at this scale." "Explain it to everyone," Blackwood said, his voice steady. Dr. Ford stood, pulling up complex equations on the main screen. 3 years ago, we discovered something unusual during quantum entanglement experiments. Under specific conditions, we could affect the fundamental stability of matter itself." She simplified the display to show a molecular structure. "Basically, we found a way to change how atoms hold themselves together. Initially, we developed it as an energy source, clean, unlimited power by manipulating quantum fields. But it has other applications," Blackwood prompted. Dr. Ford nodded reluctantly. "Theoretically, yes. If modified, the technology could destabilize matter at a distance. The effect would cascade through similar molecular structures. In plain English," Blackwood said, "we could target their ships specifically, causing them to—" "What?" "Disintegrate." "Essentially, yes. The technology identifies molecular signatures and affects only those specific patterns. Their entire fleet shares identical construction materials. If we could destabilize one ship, we could potentially collapse them all," General Reed finished, understanding dawning on his face. "But there are risks," Dr. Ford continued. "We've never tested this beyond laboratory scale. The energy requirements are enormous, and we don't know if their shields would block the effect." Blackwood looked around the room. "Do we have alternatives?" Silence answered him. "Then we proceed with Prometheus," he decided. "But we'll try diplomacy first. I'll meet with their ambassador as requested. Maybe we can negotiate better terms." Dr. Ford caught his arm as the meeting adjourned. "James, there's something else. Our quantum analysis shows their technology relies on conventional physics. They're advanced, yes, but they follow predictable rules. And?" Her eyes gleamed with the first hope anyone had shown in days. "What if they've never encountered quantum technology like ours? What if this is something truly new to them?" Blackwood stared at her, the beginnings of a plan forming in his mind. "Then we might have our one advantage." As the meeting ended, technicians began assembling a small black box containing humanity's last desperate hope. The Hegemony flagship hovered over the neutral meeting point in Earth's orbit, a metallic leviathan that dwarfed the International Space Station nearby. Its surface gleamed with an iridescent sheen that seemed to shift colors as it moved, like oil on water. Admiral Blackwood stood in the small shuttle ascending toward the alien vessel, accompanied by Dr. Ford, General Reed, and two armed security officers. In his hands, he carried a simple black case made of carbon fiber. "Remember," Dr. Ford whispered, "the device is keyed to activate only on your voice command. The case blocks their scans." Blackwood nodded. He had aged 10 years in 3 days, his face lined with the weight of humanity's future. "Let's hope we don't need it." The shuttle docked with surprising ease, as if pulled in by invisible hands. The airlock cycled open to reveal a corridor that seemed to be made of flowing mercury, walls rippling as they walked. They were greeted by Ambassador Toll, the hegemony's chosen representative. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, Toll had 4 arms and skin that resembled polished bronze. Multiple eyes, some small, some large, were arranged around a bulbous head. When Toll spoke, the words formed directly in their minds. "Welcome aboard the Dominion. Emperor Draz is pleased you have chosen the path of wisdom." Blackwood maintained a neutral expression. "We've come to hear your terms, not to surrender." Something like amusement rippled through Toll's features. "Of course. Follow me." The negotiation chamber was clearly designed to intimidate. A massive window showed Earth below, beautiful and vulnerable. Screens displayed hegemony war footage. Planets being subjugated, civilizations falling. Toll gestured to seats around a floating table. "The terms are generous. Earth will retain limited autonomy. We require 60% of your resources and 30% of your population for labor and military service. The rest may continue their lives under hegemony protection." General Reed's face flushed with anger, but Blackwood placed a calming hand on his arm. "And if we refuse?" Blackwood asked. Ambassador Toll's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "Then we take everything. Your species is added to our biological archives as another failed civilization. Your planet becomes a mining colony." Blackwood set the black case on the table. "Before we discuss further, I am authorized to deliver humanity's response." Toll straightened, clearly surprised by the human's calm demeanor. "We have studied your fleet," Blackwood continued. "We understand that hegemony has conquered thousands of worlds. We recognize your technological superiority in many areas." Toll nodded, his pride evident. "Then you understand resistance is futile." "Actually," Blackwood said, opening the case to reveal a small black box with a single blue light, "we're giving you a warning. Our only warning." A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through Toll's form. "A warning? Your species is barely space-capable. What could you possibly—" "Leave now," Blackwood interrupted, his voice steel. "Withdraw your forces from our solar system completely. Return to your empire and mark Earth as prohibited territory." The translator implants rendered Toll's response as incredulous laughter. "Or what, human? What could Earth possibly do against the might of the hegemony?" Blackwood's finger hovered over the black box. "This device represents technology your empire has never encountered. We developed it independently, following a different scientific path than the one your civilization chose." Dr. Ford stepped forward. "Your ships all use the same molecular structure for their hull material. We've analyzed it thoroughly from your scout vessels." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Ambassador Toll's alien features. "Impossible. Our scans detected no capability." "That's the point," Blackwood said quietly. "You don't know what we're capable of because you've never seen anything like it. This is humanity's only warning. Leave now or face consequences beyond your comprehension." 3 more hegemony officials entered the room, their bodies tense with what appeared to be alarm or anger. Toll's eyes narrowed. "The Emperor will not be threatened by primitive beings. You overestimate your position." Blackwood snapped the case closed. "Then I suggest you prepare a demonstration site, an uninhabited moon of your choosing. We will show you exactly what happens to those who ignore humanity's warning." As they left, Toll's voice echoed in their minds. Your arrogance will be your undoing. No species threatens the hegemony and survives. But Blackwood had seen it, the flicker of doubt in those alien eyes. For the first time in perhaps thousands of years, the galactic hegemony wasn't certain of victory. The atmosphere in the command bunker crackled with tension as Admiral Blackwood's team returned from the hegemony flagship. World leaders connected via secure channels, their faces grim on the wall of screens. They laughed at us. General Reed reported, his jaw tight. Called us primitive. Demanded 60% of Earth's resources and 30% of our population for labor. Then we have no choice, the Russian president said. We must reveal Project Prometheus. Dr. Ford activated the central holographic display. A complex molecular model appeared, spinning slowly in the air. 3 years ago, our quantum physics team at MIT discovered something extraordinary while researching clean energy solutions. She zoomed in to show particles vibrating in unusual patterns. We found that quantum entanglement doesn't just link particles across distance. Under specific conditions, it can affect the fundamental stability of matter itself. The Chinese premier leaned forward. In simple terms, Doctor, we discovered a way to change how atoms hold themselves together, she explained. Every object in the universe has a unique quantum signature. If you know that signature, you can target it specifically. Blackwood took over. We developed this technology for peaceful energy production. By slightly altering quantum stability in controlled environments, we created a revolutionary power source. But it can be weaponized, the British Prime Minister stated flatly. Dr. Ford nodded reluctantly. Yes, the black box contains a quantum resonator. It can identify the exact molecular structure of the hegemony ships and destabilize those specific patterns. What happens to their ships? Asked the Indian president. They would. Dr. Ford hesitated. The matter would lose cohesion. Their molecular bonds would cascade into failure. They would fall apart, General Reed said bluntly. At the atomic level, a shocked silence fell over the room. Could this affect other objects? The Japanese Prime Minister asked carefully. Or people? No, Dr. Ford assured them. That's what makes this technology so precise. It only affects the exact molecular structure it's programmed to target. The hegemony fleet is built from identical materials, a unique alloy we've never seen on Earth. Only those specific structures would be affected. Blackwood pulled up images of the hegemony ships. We can target their vessels without harming anything else. No radiation, no collateral damage. How widespread is this technology? Asked the German Chancellor. Could the hegemony steal it? The principles exist in research papers, Dr. Ford admitted, but the application requires specialized knowledge that only a handful of scientists possess, and we've built in safeguards. Blackwood nodded. The resonator is coded to my voice pattern and Dr. Ford's brainwave signature. If tampered with, it self-neutralizes. The French president's eyes narrowed. Why didn't we use this during the meeting? We could have ended this threat immediately. 2 reasons, Blackwood explained. First, we believe in giving them a chance to withdraw peacefully. And second, Dr. Ford added, we've never deployed this technology at such scale. Laboratory tests confirm the theory, but using it against their entire fleet is unprecedented. Could it affect Earth? Someone asked. No, Dr. Ford assured them. The quantum resonance is targeted specifically, but once triggered, it creates a chain reaction through identical materials. That's why it's so effective against their standardized fleet. The UN Secretary General spoke for the first time. And if they refuse to believe our warning, then we demonstrate on a small scale, Blackwood said. They've agreed to let us prove our capability on one of Jupiter's uninhabited moons. And if the demonstration fails, the Russian president pressed. Blackwood met his gaze evenly. Then humanity fights with everything we have, for as long as we can. Dr. Ford brought up a new simulation, but if it works as designed, The hegemony will face a choice: retreat or risk their entire fleet. A fleet that took centuries to build, General Reed added. Even an empire can't easily replace that kind of loss. As the meeting concluded, the Brazilian president voiced what everyone was thinking. We're betting the future of humanity on untested technology. No, Blackwood corrected him. We're betting on human ingenuity. Throughout history, that's been our greatest strength. Jupiter's smallest moon, designated S/2000 and 3G12, hung like a gray pebble against the gas giant's swirling storms. Barely 7 kilometers in diameter, it was nothing more than a captured asteroid, devoid of any scientific or strategic value. The perfect sacrifice. Admiral Blackwood stood on the bridge of the U.S. Hope, Earth's most advanced space vessel. Though impressive by human standards, the ship looked like a child's toy compared to the massive hegemony warship hovering nearby. "They're transmitting," Communications Officer Parker announced. "Ambassador Toll says we have 1 hour to demonstrate our supposed capability before they begin the invasion." Blackwood nodded, his face carved from stone. "Tell them we'll be ready in 30 minutes. Dr. Ford worked at her console, fingers dancing across holographic controls. The black box sat in a specialized cradle, its single blue light pulsing slowly. "I've isolated the moon's mineral composition and programmed it into the resonator. We're good to go." "All Earth governments are watching this broadcast," General Reed reminded them. No pressure. Through the main viewport, they could see 5 smaller hegemony vessels positioned around the moon. Observation posts, keeping a safe distance while monitoring the demonstration. "They don't believe it will work," Dr. Ford said quietly. "Their scanners can't detect our quantum technology. To them, this box looks almost empty." Blackwood turned to face the assembled crew. "When humanity first split the atom, we unleashed power that changed the course of history. Today, we reveal something equally profound, not to threaten or dominate, but to defend our right to exist freely." He nodded to Dr. Ford. "Begin the sequence." She placed her palm on the black box, which scanned her biosignature. "Quantum resonator active. Targeting parameters locked on moon S/2000 and 3G12. The blue light turned amber. "Final authorization required," the box announced in a flat, synthetic voice. Blackwood leaned forward. "Authorization Blackwood Epsilon 72. Execute." The light turned red. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. On the hegemony command channel, they could hear sounds that might have been laughter. Then it began. A faint shimmer appeared on the moon's surface, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Instruments detected a spike in unusual energy readings that defied conventional analysis. "Quantum destabilization initiating," Dr. Ford reported, her voice clinical despite the tension. "Molecular bonds beginning to fail. Cascade effect at 12% and accelerating." On the view screen, the moon's surface began to change. It didn't explode or break apart. Something far stranger was happening. The very substance of the moon seemed to lose definition, its edges becoming fuzzy, its mass beginning to disperse like fog under morning sun. "By all the stars," whispered someone on the hegemony channel. The cascade accelerated. Where once there had been solid rock, now particles drifted apart, the moon literally dissolving before their eyes. It wasn't violent. There was no explosion, no shockwave. Just matter losing cohesion at the subatomic level. Within 6 minutes, the small moon was nothing but a cloud of dispersing particles, growing thinner by the second. Complete silence filled all communication channels. Dr. Ford checked her readings. Quantum resonance complete. Target matter fully destabilized. Blackwood opened a channel to the hegemony flagship. "Ambassador Toll, do you require further demonstration, or shall we proceed to target your fleet directly?" No response came. "Their ships are powering up," Tactical Officer Wilson reported, tension evident in his voice, energy signatures increasing across their fleet. "Defensive posture," General Reed noted, studying the readings. They're reinforcing shields, not preparing weapons. Finally, Ambassador Toll's voice came through, missing its usual arrogance. The hegemony acknowledges your demonstration. We request a 12-hour consultation period with our Emperor. Granted, Blackwood replied evenly. But be advised that any aggressive movement toward Earth during this period will trigger an immediate response against your entire fleet. As the communication ended, the bridge crew of the U.S. Hope remained silent, processing what they had just witnessed. "They're afraid," General Reed said finally, perhaps for the first time in their history. Blackwood stared at the dissipating cloud that had once been a moon. "Good. Fear might just save millions of lives today." Dr. Ford closed her eyes briefly. "Let's hope they make the right choice." 11 hours into the 12-hour consultation period, the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains hummed with tense activity. Technicians monitored the hegemony fleet, tracking every minor adjustment in their positions. World leaders waited on standby, united by an unprecedented common threat. Admiral Blackwood paced the floor, hands clasped behind his back. He had not slept in 36 hours. "Any movement?" he asked. "Nothing significant," replied Major Fisher. "They've maintained formation. A few smaller vessels have repositioned, but still outside our defensive perimeter." Dr. Ford entered, carrying fresh data reports. "The quantum resonator is fully recharged. If they choose conflict, we're ready." The main screen suddenly flickered, displaying an incoming transmission. But this was different from previous communications. The signal pattern was more complex, the encryption far more sophisticated. "Sir," Communications Officer Parker said, "they're requesting direct communication. But not with you, with all of Earth's representatives simultaneously." Blackwood frowned. "Patch it through to all listening posts and government channels." The screen cleared to reveal not Ambassador Toll, but a new figure, more imposing, with skin that seemed to shimmer with metallic patterns and eyes that glowed with an internal light. A crest of bony structures framed a face of alien regality. "I am Emperor Draz," the figure announced, his thoughts forming directly in their minds with such power that several technicians winced. "Ruler of the Galactic hegemony, conqueror of the 7 systems, master of 1,000 worlds." Blackwood straightened. "Admiral James Blackwood, representing Earth. We've been speaking with your ambassador." "Ambassador Toll has been." Relieved of his duties, Emperor Draz stated coldly. "His assessment of your world was flawed." Dr. Ford and General Reed exchanged glances, a positive sign, perhaps. "I will speak plainly," the Emperor continued. "In 10,000 years of expansion, the hegemony has encountered many civilizations. Some fought with courage. Some possessed unusual technologies. None possessed what you demonstrated." The Emperor leaned forward, his massive form dominating the screen. "I want this technology. Name your price." Blackwood's expression remained neutral. "It's not for sale or trade, Emperor Draz. The quantum resonance technology was developed for Earth's defense, and that's its only purpose." "Everything has a price," Admiral Draz insisted. "Worlds, resources, power within our empire. Your species could become privileged members of the hegemony instead of mere subjects." "Again, not interested," Blackwood replied. "Our terms remain simple. Withdraw your forces and recognize Earth's independence." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You must understand your position. Despite this impressive weapon, the hegemony still possesses overwhelming force. We could launch simultaneous attacks from multiple vectors. Your weapon might destroy many ships, but not all, not quickly enough." "Actually," Dr. Ford stepped forward, "we've been transparent about only one application of our quantum technology." She nodded to a technician who displayed a global map dotted with hundreds of blinking lights. "These are quantum resonance stations positioned around Earth. They're already calibrated to your fleet's molecular signature." The black box was merely one deployment method, Blackwood explained. "The technology is now integrated into Earth's defense grid. Any attempted invasion automatically triggers a planetary response. This was not entirely true. They had only 3 working prototypes, but the Emperor couldn't know that. For several long moments, Emperor Draz was silent, his alien features unreadable. Then he spoke to someone off-screen in a language their translators couldn't decipher. The tension in the command center was palpable as they waited. Finally, the Emperor turned back. The Hegemony Council is divided. Many advocate for immediate, total assault despite the risks. Others counsel caution. "And what do you advocate, Emperor?" Blackwood asked quietly. Draz studied him. "I have ruled for 7 centuries, Admiral. I have seen empires rise and fall. The truly wise know when to advance and when to retreat." He straightened to his full height. "The hegemony will withdraw primary forces from your system. We will maintain observation outposts at the boundary, but will not interfere with Earth's development." A collective breath of relief passed through the command center, though no one dared celebrate yet. However, the Emperor added, "Know this. Should your weapon ever be used against us beyond your solar system, or should you share this technology with other worlds, our response will be absolute." Blackwood nodded solemnly. "Understood. Earth has no imperial ambitions, Emperor Draz. We seek only our independence." "Then it seems," the Emperor said with what might have been a hint of respect, "that you shall have it." 1 year after the hegemony's withdrawal, Earth had changed in ways few could have predicted. The massive alien fleet had departed as promised, though small observation vessels remained at the edge of the solar system, silent sentinels watching humanity's every move. Admiral Blackwood stood at the window of the newly constructed Galactic Relations Center in Geneva, watching delegates from a dozen previously unknown alien civilizations arrive for the quarterly summit. Some moved on mechanical limbs, others floated in containment fields, each species more fascinating than the last. "Still can't believe it sometimes," said General Reed, joining him at the window. The old soldier had aged well in peacetime, the permanent furrow between his brows finally relaxing. "We went from nearly conquered to galactic diplomats in a year." Blackwood smiled. "The universe abhors a vacuum." Once the hegemony backed down, others saw an opportunity. Dr. Ford approached, carrying reports on her tablet. Her work had earned her the Nobel Prize, though the full details of quantum resonance technology remained classified. "The Jordani delegation is requesting another demonstration of our energy technology. Non-military applications only, of course." "Approved." Blackwood nodded. "The more trading partners we have, the more secure our position." The truth that few outside their inner circle knew. Earth's great bluff had worked better than they could have imagined. While they did indeed possess the quantum technology, its deployment had been far more limited than they'd led the hegemony to believe. The planetary defense grid had been mostly for show, with only 3 functional resonators in existence. But perception had become reality. Throughout the galaxy, Earth was now known as the species that warned once, a planet that had stood against the mighty hegemony and forced them to back down. "Ambassador Krell from the Orion Alliance has arrived," announced Parker, now promoted to Chief of Interspecies Communications. "He says it's urgent." In the secure conference room, Ambassador Krell, a being of living crystal and light, delivered troubling news. "The hegemony is changing," Krell explained, his words translating through the advanced system developed from studying alien communication patterns. "Emperor Draz faces opposition from the military council. Many feel he showed weakness in retreating from Earth." "Are they planning to return?" Blackwood asked directly. "Not yet," Krell replied, "but they are developing countermeasures against your quantum technology. And they're not alone. Many powers are researching similar defenses." Dr. Ford frowned. That was inevitable. No technological advantage lasts forever. "Which is why we've been focusing on diplomacy," Blackwood noted. "Building alliances, establishing trade, creating a network where Earth's independence benefits others." As if to prove his point, the main chamber was filling with representatives from worlds that had previously existed under hegemony control. Many had sought Earth's protection, establishing embassies and trade missions. Some had brought their own unique technologies as offerings of friendship. The balance of power is shifting, General Reed observed. For the first time in millennia, the hegemony must negotiate rather than dominate. Dr. Ford's tablet chimed with an alert. The quantum detection grid just identified 3 refugee ships entering our system. They're from Centauri Prime, another world breaking away from hegemony control. Blackwood nodded. Grant them safe passage and prepare welcome protocols. As the team dispersed to their duties, Blackwood remained at the window, watching Earth's first true interstellar community taking shape below. Scientists exchanged knowledge with alien counterparts. Diplomats forged agreements that would shape humanity's future. Artists captured the strange beauty of visitors from distant stars. "We got lucky, you know," Dr. Ford said quietly, joining him. The quantum technology could have failed. The bluff could have been called. "Perhaps," Blackwood replied, "or perhaps the universe was ready for change. The hegemony conquered through fear for thousands of years. Maybe they just needed someone to stand up to them." Outside, a small alien child from the Rigel system stared up at the sky in wonder, its 6 eyes blinking in sequence. Next to it, a human child offered a tentative hand in friendship. One morning, Blackwood mused. That's all it took. One morning, Dr. Ford corrected with a smile, backed by human ingenuity, courage, and just enough desperation to make us dangerous. As night fell over the new Galactic Relations Center, lights from a dozen worlds illuminated Earth's first steps into a wider universe, no longer as conquerors or conquered, but as equals in the vast cosmic dance.